Hey YouTube, do you find backbends hard? I do, but I have created something that is going to really help you. The class today that you're about to do is a ton of really clever hacks that can help you get deeper and find more comfort in your backbends, but it's only a small part of my beautiful backbend series, which is on the Yoga Happy app now. 4 weeks to find a freer, deeper, and pain-free backbend. We're working towards wheel, but it helps with all of your backbends, and it even helps with poses like pincher and handstand too. Check it out now on the Yoga Happy app and enjoy the class. Hey yogis, this class is not one to miss because I'm going to cover a bunch of hacks that can help you with your backbends that aren't postures. They're different ways of doing things like flossing and just different ways to activate different parts of your brain which help with flexor tone, because when we're in a wheel, our arms are in flexion. This is flexion, this is extension. And also to help with extensor tone, because we're in a backbend, our hip is in extension. So the midbrain increases flexor tone, and a hack that you can do to help with flexion, which is linked to the midbrain, is air hunger. You may have done this with me before. So pick a move. So maybe you've done the drills exercise already and you've seen this one before. Maybe it's this one, where you bring the shoulders overhead, lift them up towards your ears, and you reach back as far as you can. Maybe it's simply dolphin, or another one you can do is come into a low lunge and bring your arms backwards and come into shoulder flexion that way. Pick one of those now and just see how it feels for your body. So I'm going to do this one actually, the little tuck one. So I'm going to bring the arms back and just see how that feels in my body. You can even record yourself doing these and then you can actually visually see, oh yes, that did help. Then we're gonna do air hunger. So with air hunger, you're gonna breathe in through your nose, you're gonna take a full breath out through your nose, you're gonna hold your breath, and you're gonna do as many squats as you can. It doesn't have to be squats, you can choose chaturangas or anything like that, but you're gonna do as many as you can. And then when you recover, I want you to take about 1 to 2 breaths to recover. So don't get to the point where you're like, ooh. Okay, you ready? Breathe in. Full breath out. Hold. Breath or 2 to recover. We're going to do one more time. Breathe in. Full breath out. Hold. Recover. Come back into that position that you were just testing and see how it feels. So in my body, this definitely feels easier. If it didn't work for you, that's okay. Not all these hacks will work for you necessarily. I'm empowering you to figure out which ones do. So this idea of test, retest, my lovely buddy Celeste Pereira taught me, so you can actually see, break down and see which ones are helpful. Don't do too many of the hacks at once. Try and do one at a time, and then you can actually figure out, oh, that one was helpful, rather than going, oh, I don't know which one helped. Okay, next one, pons. The pons are part of the brain which helps with extensor tone. So extension, flexion, extension. So yes, this one. So choose something for extension. I'm going to pick a low lunge because it's easy. So come into a low lunge. If you're going to come down, I don't want to see any of this collapsing. Feel strong. She says nearly falling over. Feel strong and just feel how the extension feels on your hip. Okay. Then what we're going to do, just come out of that low lunge a little bit. Bring your right hand onto your belly, onto your ribs. Do a side bend, lift your shoulder towards your ears, and then take the biggest breath you can. So it's called a lung pop. Just breathing in as much as you can. And then slow breath out. And then again, breathe in. Slow breath out. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. And then let's straight away, or we can test actually, because we're doing it on this side. You can do a little test. How does this feel? I feel like that's definitely helped my body remember that activeness. And then to be equal, let's do the other side. So come in, do that little test, feel how your hip is feeling, and then bring your right arm up, left hand onto ribs or onto waist. Breathe over, breathe big, big, big. And then release. Big, big, big. And release. Last time, breathing big. And release. And then test again. Feels really good. This is going to work. I'm actually going to tempt fate by saying this is going to work for my body today, but this does feel like it's working for my body. We'll see for the rest of them. Then we've got the medulla oblongata, which also is one that helps for flexor tone. So again, thinking about wheel, our shoulder flexion. You want to do a blocked inhalation. So you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and then you look like you're taking a breath, but you're not taking a breath. Everything's drawing in. And then release. And then again, breathe in. Full breath out. Look like you're taking a breath. And then release. And then we can do our test, retest. We obviously just did our, this is flexion, isn't it? We did our flexion test before. Sorry, we could have done one before as well. You can bring your arms over and see if that's helped with flexion at all. I should have told us to do one beforehand, but hopefully you can tell if that helped. If not, maybe try now and try again and see if it helps. And then we have the cerebellum. So the cerebellum deals with extensor tone again, and it deals with accuracy, balance, and coordination. And there are different things you can do with this. You can bring your arms up, you can draw a figure of 8 with one arm, you can draw a figure of 8 with the other arm, and then you can try and do that together, and then you can try and do it in opposite ways, which I find really hard. And then the other one that you can do is you can tap, little taps with your hands. You can do this with your feet as well, and you can do it on the other side, and then see if one side feels a little bit easier than the other one, and then you can do taps. Pronation to supination of the hands, trying to get as accurate as you can. Da, 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 da. And then the other side. Oh, my left side needs some work, guys. And then you can test again your extension of your hip and see if that has made any difference. Okay, so going on. Mechanoreceptors in our joints. Our thoracic spine tends to be sticky for most people. So one of the ones I like to do, you can do this seated right at the beginning of class as well, is to bring some awareness into this area and get some movement through the joints. You can do it in goddess. In the beautiful Backbends class, we do it in goddess pose. But just stand up now. You don't have to be in a pose, or you can be seated. Bring your hands onto your ribs and just shift your thoracic spine from side to side. So you're moving this area. It's not your hips or anything else is moving. You're moving from your thoracic spine. And then you can do forward and back. Forward and back. It's not a cat-cow. The movement's coming from your thoracic spine. And then you can do circles, circles, and then see if things like that help your wheel. So that's one idea. The other one is your cervical spine. Let's all do this together. If you're warm, we can go into a really soft one, soft camel. You can, if you are warm, if you've done a class, if you've done maybe the hips and shoulder drills, you can come into a full camel, or perhaps you bring your hands onto your sacrum. So glutes on, and what we're basically going to look at now is our cervical spine. So the curve of our cervical spine, our lordotic curve, is sympathetic with our lumbar lordosis, okay? And all that means is that when one is doing one thing, the other one tends to follow. So in camel pose, if we drop our head back, what can end up happening is we can dump into or hinge into our lower back. So instead of doing that, give that a go now, just letting the head go and see how that feels for you. And then instead of doing that, imagine there's an imaginary hand on top of your head. And you're going to extend out through the spine into that hand, if I can do this. And then you're going to imagine there's a hand behind your head, slightly pushing back, so you get that little double chin kind of feeling. And just notice how that feels. Maybe notice, does that bring your camel more into your thoracic spine, which we're trying to do. We're trying to open that thoracic spine, which is hard. We want to even out, think about a uniform back bend, because our lumbar spine and our neck are already lordotic. We want to try and bring the extension through the thoracic as much as possible. Then, what are we doing? Oh yeah, ocular motor reflex. So this is this idea that if you're working on flexion, what can help and that you can try, and I'd try this with your wheel pose, maybe do one and then try after. Bring your eyes basically as close to your body as you can. So you can come into a little kind of cross-eyed position, you hold that position for 20 seconds, and then you retest and see, did it help with my flexion? And then what you can do as well is you do the opposite. You go over to a window, or maybe you're practicing outside, amazing if you are, and you look as far away into the distance you can for 20 seconds, and that can help with extension. And again, you can retest and see if that is a little hack that works for your body. So, the last thing I want to talk about is flossing, nerve flossing. So we have the median nerve, which can kind of hinder our extension. And we'll do this in the drills class together, so I'm not going to do it fully now, but this is when you curl in and you're going to do the shift forward, and then you look up and you shift back, and then we do it with the chin tuck, so you're rounding through the back. A level up from this is to bring your leg up, and then you're going to do it with your leg up. But I'm not teaching that in this series because it can be really intense for people. It can be too much. And when we're doing nerve glides, we want to go low and slow and not push ourselves into it. Yes, you might feel a little pulling sensation, but you don't want to push in with all your might. Like, I'd never say anything you push in with all your might, but be mindful with flossing and nerve glides, because you don't want to aggravate them. And it might be that something actually doesn't work for you and you think, right, that didn't work last time. Let's actually try skipping it out this time and see what happens then. So the next one is your femoral nerve glide. And, oh no, sorry, I'm so sorry. The one I just showed you, that was your femoral nerve glide. Silly me. This is your medium nerve glide. Your medium nerve glide, hand holding an imaginary platter. You're going to extend your arm, extend your ear over, then you bring it back, your ear goes the opposite way, your fingers go the opposite way. We do this in the shoulder drills class. And again, it can be medium nerve tension that is hindering or holding you back from getting depth or comfort in your back bend. The last one that we do in the shoulders class is our wrist nerve tension, and we do some little nerve glides with the wrists, because as you might have heard me say before, try doing this now. Notice how hard that is to do. And then if you bend your fingers, does that make it easier? So the tension in the wrist can actually really hold us back from getting deeper into our back bends. And a way of getting around this in wheel pose is putting blocks against the wall and then placing your hands over those blocks with your knuckles bending over them, and that might release that tension and allow you to find depth, because nerve tension isn't something you just want to push through. It doesn't really work like that. So knowing these little hacks that can help us can just help find more comfort, help find more depth, help your back bends be pain-free. So they're all the little hacks I want to share with you. Take from this what works for your body and bring it into other classes. Even bring it into a class on a studio, and you know that this works really well for shoulder flexion before you go into wheel. Don't matter what anyone else think about you. Do your little 20 seconds here and then try it and see what happens. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I'll see you on the mat again soon.